All right, we are here at Southside High School in the field house with Coach Nelson. And Coach, last time I talked to you, we were at your house in Montgomery. I know you've had a big change moving up here to lovely Southside, Alabama. How has that transition been for you and your family so far?
Well, I picked the worst possible time in human history to try to move, in the middle of the global pandemic. But man, we were blessed. You said it exactly right. This is a beautiful place to live. And, we were so fortunate to be able to sell our house there in Montgomery. And, in some sense, having the pandemic, it gave us a little bit of time to handle some things like that. Otherwise it would have been like live out of boxes during spring ball and that sort of thing. So in that sense, it was a blessing. But, the transition's been good. We've there's been a lot of work to do. I feel like, I think your first year in a place every day feels like a Monday, and just kind of trying to put it all together. But overall, it's even in spite of the way that things went with the, pandemic and all. I feel like God's had His hand in, the way that He brought us to Southside, and the way that He sustained us even now as we're trying to transition and get settled in here. I mean, I can definitely see that, this is where we're supposed to be. Even in spite of the challenges that everybody's facing right now.
What's the biggest difference you see in Southside, Alabama and Montgomery where you was living?
Southside is very neighborly. In Montgomery, obviously people that were very friendly and very nice. And so, if I was out in a store and I saw people who I knew, whose, kids I'd coached or whatever, they were always incredibly friendly and warm people. But in Southside, everybody's that way. Folks that you've never laid eyes on before are just incredibly friendly to you. So it's really I used the term when I took the job that it felt like it was a throwback community, and it really is. I mean, it's just a place where we open up the front door and let our two kids go out and ride their bikes and play with the neighborhood kids, and it's just a place where everybody is incredibly warm and welcoming. So it's just been it's been a blessing, and I do have to say, I mean, everywhere in Etowah County that we've been, and we kind of like to try to get out and just see what all's around us and all that, and everywhere we've went, it really is a throwback community, and we feel really fortunate to be here.
That's true, man. It's a little bit different here than most places, man.
Sure.
Another thing is, you mentioned COVID-19, and I know I hate even talking about it, but it's part of life, and I don't think I could script, even a Hollywood writer could not script probably a worse condition to start a career or start a new job,
Sure.
Head job somewhere than what you've had to deal with here. How genuinely tough and frustrating has that been for you since you arrived here to have to deal with that and trying to get started?
Yeah, so I think what it's done is, first of all, it's a challenge, and I'm a big believer that challenges help shape us into the people that it's intended for us to be. And so I feel like there's no plan A or plan B for the world, right? I think that when God created the world and He created all of us, He knew that in 2020 we were going to deal with COVID-19. I don't think there was ever any plan A or plan B about that. So, I try to take it in terms of, it's the hand that we're dealt, and let's find ways for that challenge to shape us into a way that's, a better version of ourselves. And so, I kind of try to take that approach and try to share that approach with our players as often as we can. But, as far as it being challenging, it certainly is. And I think that, there are really, several challenges that it creates for you. And I think the first thing is an organizational challenge, because you got to decide now in everything you do, how are you going to manage the things that you have to manage in the era of COVID-19. So whether it's distancing, masking, sanitizing, whatever it is that is your challenge of the day, in the past you were having a staff meeting with your coaches and you're going over, how do we create an efficient practice schedule? And now you got to say, okay, how do we create an efficient practice schedule when we've also got to think about water breaks where the players can't touch the same nozzle on the water cow. So, you're really having to think through all of those things. And, and I will say we've been incredibly blessed here to, we've had folks donate water and everything just to try to help us navigate all that. But it's a challenge. So again, that first challenge is organizationally. I think the second challenge COVID-19 brings is with time. And that's, time every day that you've got to spend doing those things I've just mentioned. But then also it created a challenge of time because, when school closed on March 16th until June 1st, when we got to see our kids again, there was that entire 10-week period there where, you had no contact with your kids. And so the time challenge on the back end of that is how do you go make up for the time that you lost? And for me, it was, not just lost time, it was time where I didn't even know the players that I was coaching yet. So I'm trying to check in with them via text. And, it's like, hey, buddy, I'm not sure I remember you or if you remember me, but how you doing? And to our kids' credit, they received that as well as they could. And I think, it's created that sense of urgency since we've been back. And, I think for the most part, our kids get, and I kind of told them starting June 1st, I was like, guys, we're not going to take any days off. The 4th of July is a holiday. The 5th of July isn't. Like we've got to press full steam ahead because we're making up for, there's a 10-week time where you are on board and all of you were telling me how excited you were to get back to football practice. So when we get back now, we're going to be back. We're not taking any days off. So that's right. We've had to maximize it. So again, first two challenges, organizational, secondly is time. And then obviously I think the third way is just COVID-19 is a relationship challenge. And for me, I'm a relational guy, and it's been hard to get to know players when in a normal year you would, hey, after practice stop by my office, let's talk about things, and now you've got to think about, well, I probably need to get him on out of the facility so he can go get cleaned up, so I can clean the facility. That sort of thing, so it's kind of robbed you of the chance to do the things that you would normally do. I normally do team outings and invite seniors over to my house for a dinner and things like that, and I haven't done that because part of that is to be respectful of the way that other people are approaching living in this era and social distancing and things, and so it's just been a challenge to create those relationships. So again, those are sort of the three aspects that have been tough, but like I said, I really think that I've got to look at that in terms of there was never going to be any doubt that the year I'd moved to Southside we were going to be dealing with COVID-19. It's just right. It was part of the plan, and so let's just roll with the plan.
Yeah, years from now you can always say, well, it wasn't always like this.
It'll certainly be memorable.
Yeah.
Gosh, nobody knows what to do really, and I mean, I think we're all trying to figure it out, the best way to go, and it's created really some interesting things. I mean, I think there'll probably be a lot of good books that emerge out of it one day.
Absolutely, there's no doubt about that. Let's talk about your staff now and the staff that you put together here. How did that come about? And some of these coaches, you met when you got up here, and you put together a pretty solid staff right here. How did you go about the process of selecting the guys that you had?
Well, I think first of all, one of the things that was most encouraging to me when I got here was the quality of coaches that we had on staff that I had to come in and immediately start trying to build relationships with them in hopes to retain them. So I got here and I really didn't want to lose anybody because I felt like they had a good staff, and and that's a testament to Coach Doherty, and he brought a lot of those guys in, and they were friends of his, and and I think that it's a testament to them that they had had those relationships together. I think that on the surface, when I first took the job, I was a little worried that everything was going to be a rebuild. So I was worried about what the coaches were like, and then I quickly found out that I don't think Southside was a bad program. I think they'd had some unfortunate things happen to them the last couple years. But I think overall there were some pretty good bones here, pretty good structure here in terms of what we could build on, and I think a lot of that had to do with the coaching that was in place. So it was really fortunate, and so really the challenge has been, and we have added a few coaches who were not on the staff last year that we've been able to bring in, and so it's really been nice to kind of weld what was already here with a couple new guys and myself, and create some cohesion. So that's been a lot of fun. The biggest challenge has been really figuring out what do the coaches enjoy doing, what do they do well, because I'm kind of a big believer in trying to let people do things they're passionate about, and then finding some areas where you can stretch them a little bit and maybe help them grow and ask them to do something that's a little outside their comfort zone so that everybody can continue to grow. And everybody's had such a positive mindset about that, and the thing that I really love the most is just what a great group of men that we have coaching our kids, and I really look forward every day to the times, either before practice or after practice in a staff meeting where we're just going to all be in a room, whether it's telling stories about practice that day or whatever, that we're just going to all be together in fellowship, and getting to share our experiences with these kids. It's really become something I look forward to.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about the players a little bit, and you and I talked off the camera, and you said you essentially had two different meetings with your first meetings with your players. Can you talk about that, explain that a little bit and how that's went, and also the tail end question on that is, what have you seen and noticed from these guys since day one that you've actually had your hands on working with them to what you see right now?
Sure. I think, the first thing is, you're right. I mean, the question was, what was your first meeting like with your players? And truthfully, I feel like I had two. I had one when I took the job, and then 2.5 months later, after we reopened from COVID, I had another first meeting with them where, I felt in some sense like I was reintroducing myself to them. And I think in that first meeting, it was about, sharing the vision with them. What do we want for Southside football to be? Why should you want to play? And I wanted to talk to them a lot about that. And, we talk about the Panther way, which to me really answers why a kid would want to play high school football, because, frankly, there are a lot of easier things that kids could do than play high school football. So we want the Panther way to be our answer in terms of why a kid would want to do this. So we talk about, having fun and being a family and being a part of something bigger than yourself. And, those are all good reasons to play high school football. So that was really that first meeting. And then when we got in here on June 1st, it all of a sudden shifted to like, okay, guys, we're going to get ready in 9 weeks. We got to start practicing football. In 7 weeks, we got to practice football. And then in about 10 weeks, we got to play. So the urgency really shifted. Wow. You went from, hey, let me get to know you, here's the vision, to like, hey, June 1st, we got to roll. And so it really became a challenge for them, to really rise to the occasion. And, we challenged them in a couple areas starting on June 1st when we met with them. And the first thing I said is that, we've got to find a way to come together as a team. And it's hard to do that when you're socially distanced, when you can't be in a locker room, you can't all be together. But guys, you still got to find a way to come together as a team. And then every one of you as an individual has got to commit to being physically at least what you were before COVID caused the school to close. So I didn't have an expectation that kids could somehow make up 10 weeks of lost ground and be better than they were then. But like, you've got to at least be what you were on March 16th.
Halfway.
Yeah, that's right. Meet me halfway. And so that was kind of the way that we approached, that. And it was essentially that, we've got to find a way. The third challenge was we've got to find a way to learn to compete over the course of the summer. So, and that was really what it was all about. And I'll say that it's been every day, come together as a team, be at least what you were physically when we left, and then learn to compete. And the kids have done that. They really have. We have some form of best on best type competition every single day in practice. Every day since I've been here, that's been the best period of our practice. So I think that's also a testament, to the coaches that were here and to Coach Doherty. I mean, we don't have lazy kids at Southside. We don't have kids who don't want to compete. You know, we've got some kids who, for whatever reason, had kind of gotten a little disconnected. And, you know, I felt like my job was been really to reconnect them, remind them of what their purpose is as a player, you know, and then hopefully get them over the hump. So, you know, that's kind of been what the summer and the preseason's been about.
Gotcha. And you recently went to media days. Can you talk about that experience and how it's good to get to meet? I know you didn't get to meet all the coaches, but just the overall experience of media days and getting to talk football.
Yeah, no, I mean that was a great experience, and you know I think that we're blessed in Etowah County to have a lot of great local media outlets that cover our kids and celebrate their accomplishments, and that's not the case all over the state. You know, there aren't you know, groups like you guys, like Average Joe's. There aren't organizations like Media Day that happen all over the state. And you know, you almost feel in some places like the high school kids get caught up in the competition between media outlets, and instead here I kind of feel like everybody's here to celebrate our kids. You know, and so I'm real appreciative of that. And I think Media Day just kind of highlighted that. I thought it was a great event. You know, we had Michael Rich and Garrett Orr with us, and I thought both of those guys did a great job. You know, it was funny. We put them through a really hard practice that morning, and those guys were exhausted when we get in there. You know, it's like I had to give them a pep talk to get them through Media Day. But, you know, I was proud of the way they represented their school and their families. You know, but as far as just overall, just getting a chance, it felt normal. You know what I mean? Just getting a chance to talk ball, you know, and yeah, exactly, to meet some coaches and put a name with a face. You know, I've had texted Coach Smith at Gadsden City, you know, probably 50 times back and forth, but I'd never met him until Media Day. And, you know, so many of the coaches in this area have been very welcoming to me, you know, and I look forward to having a chance to get to know them better in person. You know, because that's something that's really important to me in this business. There's going to be years where Southside's got good players. We have a good year. There are going to be years where we're young. We have to rebuild. We maybe won't be as good. If you got good relationships with those people across the other sideline, they know you're professional. They know you're trying to do it the right way. You know, that goes a long way for you in the years where, you know, whether you're really good or whether you're struggling. I think that we can all kind of be there for each other. So that's definitely a good thing.
And I noticed the other day when I came out watching you guys practice, your numbers are up, enthusiasm was up, people were smiling. It felt good energy. Talk about that energy and what, you know, having those numbers up like that. How did that come about? Maybe it was new blood in the program or whatever, but how did that all come about?
So I think it's kind of two things. I think number one is new blood, you know, and in being new, I wanted to come in and like I said, answer the question of why you should want to play football. You know, and that's been important to me at every turn, is to try to sell that idea of like why high school football is important and why kids should want it to be a part of that rather than doing something that it could be a lot easier somewhere else. And so, yeah, that's right. And so, you know, I've tried to really be proactive in getting that message out there. You know, and frankly, I mean, I used any means necessary to do that because, I mean, we were in the middle of pandemic. So it was literally, you know, texting my current players and asking, hey, give me a list of guys who ought to be playing that aren't, you know, and trying to follow up with as many of them as I could, you know, posting graphics on social media and you know, just little things to try to get guys' interest level up. That was, you know, a big part of it for us early on to try to grow those numbers. You know, and then I think the other thing that really helped us is kids wanted to get back to normal. You know, so I mean, like the first way you could get back to being around some friends and doing something normal was to be on a sports team come June 1st. Because, you know, otherwise you're going to have to wait until August 17th to get to go to school and do something normal. But if you play sports, you can come on and do it June 1st. And I think that's kind of helped us some. Just some kids that, you know, I mean, look, I think that we all sort of crave structure and we crave accountability and we want to get to do things that are normal. And so I really think that helped us.
We're going to shift to the actual team here.
Sure.
Progression-wise, offensively, having a veteran quarterback like Mr. Rich is, and you know, having him in this offense and Alden Battles and some of these guys, you know, I know that's a help, but they still got to learn this system and they still got to learn what you want done. So it's kind of new to them. But talk about your offense specifically and what you've seen in progressions to this point.
Yeah, so I think my plan coming in was we want to find when you try to build an offense, I think the first thing you got to know is who your quarterback is and what he can do well. And then you've got to pair that with what your offensive line can do. And I think that's where a lot of coaches get things twisted. We have to really sort of organize based on who our quarterback and who our offensive line is. And I think we were pretty fortunate because I think our offensive line and our quarterback could pair together in a way that allowed us to take advantage of each other's skill sets. So that was really good. And then from there it was about figuring out who are kids that we think can make some plays and how do we find a way to structure our offense in a way that gets them the ball. The good news for us is, I think that we returned 10 kids who started last year and, really another 2 or 3 that were situationally, had started some because of injury or whatever else. So, I inherited a team that was full of guys offensively that had played some football. So we got to sort of come in with the benefit of knowing what some of these guys do well. And obviously you mentioned Michael. I felt like he's a very talented player. He's got a lot of great of arm talent. I feel like he can make a lot of throws down the field. He can also throw the ball on rhythm really well. Sometimes guys who can go down the field struggle a little bit throwing it on rhythm. Michael can kind of do all that. But there were challenges in terms of figuring out, with that skill set well with all the other players we had. And I think that the thing I've been most impressed with here is how well our skill players have picked up the offense. Alden and Cody Roberts and Hayden Robertson, Ethan Light kind of split time at our tight end. Hayden Fry, Hunter Seitz, are all guys that play for us, and in our backs, and Cornell Davis and Eli Martin and Maddox Parsons. They've really gravitated toward what we do on offense. They've picked it up quick. They seem to enjoy what we do offensively, and I think that helps them. And they play really hard. And especially I think Alden and Cody. They have learned their positions in depth a lot faster than I anticipated them learning it. And honestly, I'd had my top 2 receivers over the last 4 years were kids that had all started for me since they were in 9th grade, and so I was real nervous about having new receivers because it's been 5 years since I've had new receivers, and now I got a new school and new receivers. So I was a little nervous about how they'd pick that up, but they've really been great. We've had some other kids kind of come on that I think are going to be great depth for us at receiver. Hunter Johnson and Taylor Carr, who's new to the program. He's been a basketball kid, but I think those guys are really a good position group. And our coach Ray Cargill, handles our receivers, and Robbie Davis works with Michael with our quarterbacks, and the 2 of them are just really solid. They do a great job coaching up our skill players. And then up front, we're blessed because we returned 5 starters and then a 6th kid who
that's amazing.
Really 7 kids who started situationally. So that's a great depth. And and that's a credit to Turner Shankles, our offensive line coach. He'd really gotten those guys ready last year. And, offensive line's kind of my baby too. So the 2 of us meet and we're very much hand in hand with what's going to happen there. So, overall it's just been a good transition offensively. Now I say that, look, everybody looks good in shorts and everybody looks good when you're throwing stuff against your defense. The strengths of the players on the other side of the ball. Hey, when you go play a game, we'll see. A lot of this best laid plans, right? But, I think as of now, I'm happy with what the kids have picked up at this point.
And on the other side of the ball, defensively, what have you seen? I know you got some key guys back, Hayden Fry being one of those. Well, what have you seen out of that group? And I was here day 1, I believe, when you was teaching your base defense. Come in and call a little bit of that, which I thought was real interesting, the scheme you was talking about. But I'll go ahead and turn it over to you. And what have you seen out of that group so far?
Yeah, so I think that defensively, first of all, the speed we have at linebacker has really been pretty eye-catching. we got some kids that can really run that play linebacker, and I think that obviously Hayden is one of those. Hayden Fry is just he's a football player.
Yeah,
He's kind of the stereotypical, like if you wanted to create sort of an edge type high school football player, that's who you create. And so he does a lot for us. He's got a lot of versatility and good attitude, and really coachable kid. And then Eli Martin and Maddox Parsons playing on the inside, and they can absolutely run. And gosh, Maddox is one of the toughest kids I think I've probably coached. In fact, the other day I wasn't happy with our practice. I thought we were a little lousy one day. It was hot, and so I called them together and kind of challenged everybody's toughness pretty globally there. It was I kind of I believe I defined it as our first come to Jesus meeting that I had with them, and and after that it was really funny because Eli Martin and Maddox Parsons on the next two plays, when I go back and watch film, I'm like, oh my gosh, like they just I probably need to apologize for calling their toughness out because they got after it,
We'll show you.
And then look on the other, Spencer Sharp is a kid that he's versatile. He can play some safety, can play some linebacker, can rush the passer for you. Really good player. On the back end, I've been so proud of Brody Johnson. He's a kid who I knew had some physical tools. I wondered if he would really assume a leadership role in the secondary and help get everybody lined up and learn the checks and all that. And he really has. He's really owned it. And he's a kid that he's just the kind of kid you want to see do well because he's a good person and a good player. And I've been really excited to see him kind of own his role. And we play I think we'll play a bunch of guys on the back end in the secondary. We'll play a bunch of kids that I think all have different strengths and do different things for us. And then, up front, three defensive linemen, and Jacob Gasky and Cordell Walls and Lucas Johnson that are all seniors. And then around them, we'll put a Garrett Orr, Will Warwick, Hayden Robertson, some guys who had been offensive players, and we'll kind of support the defense with them. And you look over there sometimes, and when we've got our kind of our dudes over there defensively, it's a pretty good looking unit. So we feel like those guys can all do things for us, and can be what it all comes down to is are you going to have the discipline to play with your technique over the course of time. Because again, anybody can get out for a few reps and look pretty solid, but it's a lot easier to lose a game defensively than it is to go win one. And that means if you lose your discipline for 1 second, if you lack eye discipline on one play, you lose the game, or they score. And so I think it's really important for our kids to kind of understand that we play team defense. And they're learning that, and that's a credit, a testament to Coach Nichols and Coach Nails and the defensive staff that we have there, and those guys do a great job.
Absolutely. And the X factor, Urban Meyer said it best: more games of won and lost with special teams than you'd ever know.
Sure.
Let's talk about your special teams, your kicker, your punter, and what could be looking a little different this year for Southside.
Yeah. I think Southside last year had the first thing when I saw the game film was like, please tell me the kicker's coming back. And he was a senior. So,
he was really
he was really good.
Really good.
So we're kind of, we got a few kids who we've given an opportunity to handle some kickoff duty, in our place kicking duty. We've really been blessed the last few weeks. We've had a soccer player kind of come on and start to own the job, and Abdullah Alabasi, and he is, we call him AB, and he is really figuring out how to strike the football. He's a really strong leg kind of kid, and he's
soccer program to have.
Absolutely, yeah. Coach Weiss does a great job with soccer. And so we were hoping that we would have a couple soccer kids come out and kick. And AB's really owning it. He's getting more comfortable striking the ball. He's kind of learning, how to place the ball directionally when we want him to, and that's kind of a big part of it for us. So he's really learning that, and we're excited to have him. And then I think in terms of the punting game, Michael's actually going to handle our punting duties for us. I kind of like having a quarterback back there to do it. It's a guy who's
better keep their head on swivel.
well, that's right, and if Coach Nelson will have the courage to call one every once in a while, but
I love it.
I like to keep it by the vest, but but then really why I like having a quarterback back there is he's so used to handling the ball. I think the worst thing that can happen to you is dropping a snap.
That's true.
And sometimes your traditional punter just doesn't handle it as often as quarterback does. I think nobody handles the ball for us more than Michael Rich. So we're giving him a shot at it. We got a couple other kids that may work out that have an opportunity to do it for us as well. But so far that part's been pretty good. And it's really going to be interesting to see, how our special teams develop as a unit in terms of your overall team strategy. As far as seeing, where we feel like we're able to take shots in the kicking game versus where we need to be more conservative in the kicking game. There are a lot of good football teams in Alabama that their special teams philosophy is just when we want to kick it, and when we want to return, just put a dude back there and let him go.
Exactly.
And for us, we're more if we're gonna have a big return, we probably got to scheme it, and if we're gonna be aggressive kicking it, we got to scheme it. So it's just things like that you gotta think about, and I'm still learning the players in terms of figuring out where we want to apply those sorts of things. So I may not know some of those answers until we've played a few games, honestly.
That's what I was about to say. Steve Savarese made the announcement that we're playing football, which has been a blessing to everybody, I believe, statewide.
Sure.
Coaches from every school we've been in is doing the right thing, social distancing, cleaning. Everybody wants to play. The community wants to play. Kids want to play. Did you ever imagine that it's going to be this quick? Next Friday night, from the time we're filming this, you're going to be playing football.
It's
with this new group of guys in this new town with these new coaches around you.
It's a whirlwind.
Talk about that.
It's a whirlwind. It's so funny. In some ways, the day I took the job feels like 2 years ago, and then in some ways it feels like 5 minutes ago. So it's been hard, I think, for everybody, just in the midst of all the negativity around us with the virus. I think if we're all honest, it's been hard for us at certain times to see how we're really going to do it, how we're really going to get back to normal and go do it. But then, when you started back in June and you started preseason practice on July 27th, and you kind of come to understand that kids want to play football. And I desperately want to coach football. So I'll pretty much do whatever I have to do in terms of anything in my power to keep it safe so that we can play. And our kids will receive that in such a way because they want to play. So I think that they've really responded well to that in terms of understanding that, hey, there's a new part of being a coachable player now. It used to be about, can you learn your job? Will you go to the right place? Will you make your blocks? And will you tackle? And now it's like, okay, but will you also be a good neighbor in the locker room in terms of be the guy who's keeping your mask on? Will you make sure that you are distancing when you can, sanitizing when you can? So there's been kind of a new element of what it means to be a good teammate. And our kids are really starting to learn that, like, the mask is inconvenient in the weight room. It's hot in there. And I actually, the other day, I decided I was going to lift with the kids with a mask on just to kind of like empathize with what they're going through. And I was keeled over. And Fry actually looks at me, he's like, Coach, are you all right? I was like, no, I'm not. Like, I don't know how y'all do this. Like, and I think that they're learning that it's inconvenient, but it's worth it. And I think that's really what they're learning. And hopefully everybody around the state is learning that there's some inconveniences, but, giving our kids a chance, just a fighting chance to get out there and represent their communities is worth it. And if that means that, we've got to limit our travel roster a little bit, or we got to distance in the locker rooms, or we got to take longer time out, spread out from the 10-yard line to the 10-yard line, sanitize the ball, wear a mask while I coach, whatever it is that I have to do, I want to give these kids a fighting chance, because you know what? Garrett Orr and Michael Rich and Hayden Fry and Hunter Seitz and all these guys, they deserve to play their senior year. And the kids that I left in Montgomery, Thomas Kirkham and Britton Kahn, they deserve to play their senior year. And I love the interview that that was going around. Several interviews that people have done with some high-profile players that have been, tell us your story about wanting to play football. And these kids are like, look, I've been training for this since I was 4 years old.
Yeah.
And it's like, let's just give them a chance. And I do think that we're going to know a lot more. We probably know a lot more now. We've been practicing for 3 weeks. If there was going to be an uptick in virus cases because of practicing football, we probably would have had it already. And we're going to play next Friday night, and the 2 weeks after that are going to be really important. If I fully expect, and we're going to play Lincoln, and we're going to come home, and I'm not real worried about any of our kids contracting COVID while we're playing Lincoln. I'm just not. I think that we're in an open air environment. People forget when you actually play a high school football game, a game's 48 minutes. There's not 48 minutes of close contact with each other. I mean, it actually boils down to only a few minutes in the course of a game where you're actually engaging with somebody, and you do it in an open air environment. So I think we're going to be fine. I really do. And I'm just praying that we get a chance to, have as close to normal year as we can. If one team gets a bunch of cases and has to shut down, if Southside has to forfeit a couple games, that's okay. I'm going to hang on to this thing and hope that we get to fight and let our kids represent our community. And if that means that, we play a few and then have to take a few off, I'm going to be in here fighting that we get to continue and keep playing because it's the right thing for our kids.
Saying the fight, yeah. Well,
that's right.
Just from the outside looking in, Coach, I heard a lot of positive things about you from your colleagues, your coaches, people on your staff, community, doing a lot of good things. A lot of people's noticing it. And we really appreciate the time, and I've enjoyed getting to know you from the time I interviewed you in your house in Montgomery to now. Same guy, great guy, and really, really thoroughly enjoyed it, Coach.
Well, I appreciate you, and like I told you, I thank you guys for what y'all do for us. Our kids are so blessed to get to have outlets like this, and it really is about them.
Absolutely.
I just feel. I appreciate hearing that people are saying good things about me. I'm undefeated right now, so we'll see where all that is. I'm sure coaches at Lincoln and Hoax Bluff have probably got something to say about that, but that's why we play. But I think at the end of the day, I'm honored to get to coach the football players at Southside, and I think if we'll make it about them, the chips can fall where they may. And that's really my approach, and that's how I feel. So, hopefully that works out, and we're able to build this thing in a way that our community's proud of, and really excited to get to lean into that. And even though it's been a crazy year and a crazy transition, I'm just blessed to get to do it. And again, really thank you guys for coming and doing this, and for everything y'all do.
We appreciate it, Coach, and we'll be seeing you. We'll actually have a couple of guys on Monday for our preview show, and then keep them socially distanced, Coach.
Sure.
But we'll be seeing you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.